What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and you check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on Victor Wembanyama and some of the criticism and pushback that Victor Wembanyama has been getting since they lost this the championship series to the Knicks, right? And one person that had some strong comments about Victor Wembanyama was Nick Wright. And so now I always thought that Victor Wembanyama was good I think he's good for the league. And the reason I think that Victor Wembanyama is good for the league is because he is 7 feet 5 inches tall. The league is going to have to adjust to him because he definitely has an advantage because of his height, right? And so when the league adjusts to Victor Wembanyama, and I didn't know that it was going to happen in this series, but I thought eventually the league was going to adjust to him because he's not the first person to be 7'4", 7 feet 5 inches tall, and and playing the NBA, and I always compare him to Ralph Sampson. Right. And I saw the way that teams played Ralph Sampson. They was physical. They didn't allow Ralph Sampson to do capitalize on any of his strengths, was like his height. They pushed him away from the basket. His athleticism, they didn't give him an opportunity to use all that. They did different things and they got physical with him, right? And so I thought that the same thing would happen to Victor Wembanyama, but I didn't know it would be this series, right? And I kind of got from looking at Victor Wembanyama, things came really fast and really easy for him, right? And so now it's to the point where I think that Victor Wembanyama, the league is going to adjust to him, and I think the next thing is Victor Wembanyama have to adjust to the league. People going to play him physical. And we saw a few times throughout this series with the Knicks, and even in their playoff runs, where Victor Wembanyama kind of get frustrated, and he throw bows and he lash out. He threw some elbows in a series against OKC. Then he took and he pushed Jalen Brunson down. Jalen Brunson must have been annoying him. He shoved him and pushed him in the back of his head, right? And so Wembanyama is going to have to learn how to play with poise, and he's going to have to learn he's going to have to change up his game a little bit more if he want to have some success. Just because you can shoot jumpers don't mean that you should be out there shooting jumpers, right? So now I want to get to and address the statements that Nick Wright made about Victor Wembanyama. And I want to react. I don't agree 100% with what he's saying, but I kind of get where it's coming from.
Player in the league, because the best player in the league title is vacant. That cannot happen. He couldn't get a bucket or a stop, and 1,000% ran out of gas. But the next thing I would like to hear how he and Carter Bryant spend their time, Carter Bryant next offseason, when Wemby's like, hey, let's go to the world's quietest room, be like, weight room first. Little cardio on the treadmill, get the endurance up, then sketching in the park. Some of that. Because it wasn't just that he disappeared. It's that Victor Wembanyama, and this is the dance he has been having all year long with this is what I've always worked for and I'm right there, or is it entitlement? He's been straddling that line. But this sequence and having the game then go.
All right, so now I don't know if it's I don't think it's entitlement with Victor Wembanyama. I just think that things are not as easy as he might have thought they were going to be. They came easy for him, and I think it kind of caught him off guard. Now, Victor Wembanyama, he do need to work on his endurance, right? Because he ran out of gas a whole lot throughout this series. And throughout the season, I think Victor Wembanyama played, I'm thinking he played like about less than 30 minutes a game, right? And so now when you get into the playoffs, into the championship, and your team needs you to go longer minutes, and you running out of gas. I witnessed Victor Wembanyama not jumping for rebounds, just trying to tip the ball to himself and, use his height advantage when the guys who were, they were boxing him out. So that's one thing that he'll have to work on. He'll have to be more efficient when it comes to, like I said, you want to shoot closer to the basket because that's where your advantage is, and that will help you to save energy, right? And so this is like next season when we come back and we see Victor Wembanyama, and if we see the adjustments that he's made, then we know that Victor Wembanyama got the message, right? Because the league, the players around the league, his opponents, they got the message. And and so now it's game on. We'll see, with what Victor Wembanyama is really made of. But I think that because things came so easy for him in his first 2 years, that he thought that this was going to be it. Like I'm that phenomenon that has taken over the league, and that's not the case, right? And as far as like him trying to show other players up and telling them he's in your head and all this other stuff, I don't like that. And the reason why I don't like that kind of stuff is because when it comes back on you, it's even worse. Like when you. And that's why Nick Wright is making this kind of statement. So if certain things Victor Wembanyama don't say or certain things he don't do to put himself out there, then Nick Wright, some of this stuff that Nick Wright won't be able to say, right? But when you telling people that you're in their head and and you make yourself look like a front runner, that don't look good. That don't look good. But and I do agree with Nick Wright that the seat, as far as like the face of the NBA right now, is vacant. I think like it's still, there's some candidates out there. Like Victor Wembanyama is a candidate for that. Shea Gilgeous is a candidate. Jalen Brunson, I think, Jalen Brunson is a candidate for it. And I think it maybe, some people could think of a few other people that are candidates for face of the league. But right now it's open. That job is open. The seat is vacant, like Nick said. Now in order for Victor Wembanyama, it's time for him to decide like what kind of player, like what player do you want to be? Do you want to be Ralph Sampson? Or do you want to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? You want to play to your advantages, or you want to try to mold, you want to try to make the league kind of like kind of flex or bend to you, right? Which I don't think is going to happen. He's going to have to take what the league and what the players give him, use his height advantage and play closer to the basket. He won't have a long career or a successful career if he try to like continue to shoot the 3-pointers. I don't like somebody 7'5" shooting a 3-pointer and kind of fading away. I don't get it. It's not even necessary. I don't know about Victor Wembanyama putting on weight. Now, as far as working on his cardio, now he can do something about that. He can get his cardio up. But like I said, and I don't think he have a lot to do to get his cardio up. I just think that some of the unnecessary things that he do on the court, dribbling the ball up the court, take up too much of his energy. Trying to take somebody off the dribble takes too much energy. He just need to come down the court, get position, and then turn around and score. That's basically all Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did. That's why Kareem had like a 20-year career. Like 7-footers usually don't play that long. And so, but Victor Wembanyama won't have a 20-year career if he try to go that Ralph Sampson route, right? You know what I mean? Just play. Now I know Ralph Sampson got hurt because he had back injuries and But if Ralph Sampson had played closer to the basket, he may not have had back injuries. Who knows? So that's my thing. But now I'm looking forward to seeing what Victor Wembanyama, how he adjusts to the way people are playing him. Is he going to get frustrated? Are his opponents going to be in his head? So I'm looking forward to seeing how this all play out. But that was my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm going to check y'all out in the next video. Peace.